It is frequently remarked that the tranquility of the forest hides countless mysteries. It all began in a hidden cabin, where tranquility prevails, and the lines between affection, isolation, and desire blend in unforeseen ways. Unbeknownst to me, what began as a straightforward escape would transform into a moment etched in my mind, one I could never hope to forget. At 39, I discovered myself balancing the identities of wife and mother, though each seemed to inhabit its own distinct world. As the years passed, my husband Cyril appeared to drift increasingly away from me. After a long day filled with his responsibilities, he came home to either connect with his laptop or relax in front of the television. I found myself responsible for caring for our son, Jason, as well as managing my own needs. There was neither a bond nor a spark of attraction present. An uncomfortable silence hung in the air, a shared moment that filled me with a disquieting awareness of my own triviality. Things were not always this way. The initial moments of our union remain etched in my mind with remarkable clarity. When Cyril would surprise me with handwritten notes hidden in my bag or whisk me away for weekends brimming with joy and affection, those memories felt like they belonged to another life entirely. Concealed under the burden of duty and neglect, I labored tirelessly to rekindle the feelings we once cherished. Candlelit dinners, fresh pants, and heartfelt conversations were met with polite disregard or apathy. I became fatigued by the exertion. What drives a person to reach out when someone they hold dear seems to be just out of reach? Cyril's recommendation for me to bring Jason to the family house for the weekend was entirely expected. He pressed on, his eyes locked steadfastly on his phone. It will also be advantageous for you. Lately, the time you share has dwindled. A deep intuition told me he would ultimately not be part of our gathering. Nevertheless, he broadened his proposal. He regularly crafted an excuse or emphasized a crucial goal that required his focus. Isn't it true that every woman goes through those emotions? The deep, empty loneliness that comes from understanding that you are not a priority, but just an afterthought? Once again, I found myself in alignment with the thoughts expressed. Maybe weariness hushed my expression. A part of me might have longed to discover something I had lost, even though I was unaware of what it truly was. As the trip approached, the mundane began to dissolve, giving way to an extraordinary and tangible feeling of quiet anticipation that hung in the air. In recent years, Jason had become more and more distant. He had long since ceased to be the boy who would find solace in my bed after a nightmare or beg for my presence during his favorite shows at the age of 17. He was evolving into a man, his shoulders expanding, his voice resonating more powerfully, and a subtle confidence surfacing that sometimes left me feeling uneasy. I sought to explore his world further by asking about his school, friends, and hobbies, but frequently, his replies were reduced to just a single word. Before too much time passed, Friday afternoon made its entrance. While we packed the car, I noticed the impressive independence that Jason had cultivated. With a deft touch, he maneuvered through the task, effortlessly hoisting the heavy bags and positioning them in the trunk, all without requiring my help. It represented a notable evolution from the awkward youth who would trip over his own possessions while handling the groceries. A tangled web of feelings wrapped around me. A sense of achievement intertwined with a lingering melancholy. Did this genuinely capture the heart of parenthood? Watching your child transform into someone you barely recognize? While the path to the cabin progressed as anticipated, an unshakable sense of unease hung in the atmosphere, mysterious and disquieting. To spark a casual dialogue, I asked him about his experiences at school, his group of friends, and what he had planned for the weekend. How excited are you for the adventure ahead? A break from the demands of scholarly pursuits and all that comes with them? I asked, my eyes locked onto him. He casually shrugged and directed his attention to the winding road ahead. I suppose that is indeed the case. Are we the only ones here? The way he articulated it caught me off guard. Did that capture your curiosity? Are you finding joy in your experience? I attempted to brush it aside, but his words persisted, intertwining with the very essence of my mind. As I caught sight of the familiar silhouette of the house, a wave of nostalgia washed over me. This place was once my haven, a retreat where Cyril and I could find solace during the early days of our relationship. In a time long past, the cottage overflowed with joy, whispers of secrets shared softly by the dancing flames, and evenings that ended with blankets tangled in blissful chaos. Yet now it seemed empty, reflecting the emptiness in my bond with Cyril. The moment Jason's voice pierced through the stillness, I awoke from my dreams. "Mother, how are you feeling?" "Certainly," I replied promptly, masking my true feelings with a smile. As I ponder the flow of time since we first arrived, I can't help but delve into my thoughts. He nodded, his expression a mystery. "Certainly, a considerable amount of time has elapsed." As I stepped inside, the well-known creak of the porch steps awakened a torrent of memories deep within me. Inside the space, the air was cool, infused with a faint aroma of smoke mingling with the fresh scent of pine. Jason set about organizing the car with a serene and methodical demeanor. I watched him closely, taking note of the shifts in his behavior as he had matured and embraced a fresh sense of self-assurance. The revelation hit me with an unforeseen intensity. He had evolved from the small child I once recognized. As darkness enveloped the world outside, we gathered by the fireplace, where the flickering flames cast playful shadows that waltzed across the walls. A glass of wine gracefully settled into my hands. The deep, luxurious red wrapped around me like a comforting embrace. "Would you like some?" I asked the question playfully, knowing well that he would probably decline. His abrupt stop and the deliberate shake of his head rendered me completely speechless. "Thank you for reaching out with your question. I am thriving." "I appreciate it." He looked at me longer than I had anticipated. I struggled to identify the origin of his unusual look. "Were you the focus of their admiration, I wonder?" As I adjusted my position, I became aware of the deep stillness that had settled over the cabin. The fire crackled softly, the only sound that filled the silence hanging between us. I murmured softly to myself. "Your growth is truly remarkable." He smiled, his gaze unwavering from mine. "Indeed, I believe I have. How about you? You seem quite different from the typical mom." "Do not you?" The statement took me by surprise. Peculiar laugh escaped me, my cheeks aflame with warmth. "What is the true significance of that?" He shrugged, his expression inscrutable. "Do you simply appear different and more youthful?" Words eluded me. Was he attempting to uplift my spirits? Or was there another motive at play? That night, as I lay in bed, the cabin seemed to envelop me in an unusual stillness. I found myself replaying our conversation repeatedly in my thoughts. Am I imagining things? Or has something shifted between us? I gazed upward at the sturdy wooden beams that loomed above me. The moonlight streaming through the window softened the jagged contours of the beams, lending them an ethereal quality. Visions of yesteryears intertwined with the uncertainties of the now, stirring within me a sense of tension and unease. Have you ever found yourself reconsidering your understanding of someone you thought you knew well? Are you curious to discover if there is something glaringly apparent that you have overlooked? The notion lingered in my mind as I drifted into slumber, a belief that this weekend held the power to transform everything. The flames flickered weakly, and the final remnants of wood were nearly consumed. I stepped into the frigid air, determined to gather more wood, as I hefted the weighty logs back indoors. The frigid air nipped at my cheeks. The wood was burdensome, and once I had carried it into the hut, an ache unlike any I had felt before settled into my neck. As I lingered in that moment, my fingers tracing the site of my injury, the ache of solitude resonated through every fiber of my being. "Mom, seems as though you are in pain." "I am at your service." As Jason spoke, his voice took on a deeper resonance. It was strange how swiftly he had transformed. How he had transformed into the man I beheld before me, extending his hands in a cabin where we were the sole occupants for miles around. Trusting my own voice felt elusive, so I simply nodded. The ancient, groaning couch prompted me to turn from him, allowing my hair to cascade as I lifted it, granting him access to my neck. His initial touch was gentle, a whisper against my skin. The way he gently unraveled the knots awakened a deep yearning in me for what was missing from my life. He persisted in his gentle touch, each deliberate movement conveying a level of intimacy that transcended the boundaries of a simple massage. I should have insisted that he stop. The warmth of his breath caressed my neck, and as I detected the slight change in his breathing, a part of me recognized that I should have found the words to speak up. I did not. Yet, I yearned for the comfort of a caress, to feel that I still possessed charm and passion. And Jason, my son, was presenting me with something that my partner had long ago stopped offering. As he lowered his hands, a rush of warmth enveloped me. The experience was a complex fusion of embarrassment and desire. His fingers danced across the expanse between my shoulder blades, and I arched subtly, craving the warmth of his touch. Am I wrong to feel this way about my son? Did my solitude run so deep that it turned my yearnings into distant fantasies? Does that provide you with greater solace? His voice was gentle, almost a murmur, as if he felt the fragile equilibrium we were traversing. I found myself replying with a gentle, airy, yes, thank you. I planned to wrap it up at that moment and proceed forward. Still, I discovered that I was unable to accomplish it. I discovered that I was unable to accomplish that task. As the night deepened, an unsettling quiet wrapped around the house, interrupted solely by the soft murmurs of the wind outside. While I sought out additional wood, memories of Jason's touch enveloped my mind, causing me to lose my footing and slip onto the ice. The cold air sliced through my senses as I fell, the jarring impact resonating with the abruptness of my misstep. Jason made his entrance promptly. He grasped my arms and pulled me back into the warm embrace of the home. "Mother, you seem to be hurt." His worry was unmistakable. His hands moved gently across my body, a tender investigation to confirm my well-being. His fingers grazed my bruised leg from the fall, igniting a sudden, sharp sting within me. Once again, he insisted that I sit down, this time placing me at the very edge of the couch. His gentle hands brushed against my stiff leg, but his gaze had turned, exposing a yearning that stirred within me the very emotions I felt about being alone. His fingers danced softly along my leg. I knew I should step in, but my body yearned for that connection instead. As his gaze moved from my leg to connect with mine, a silent question hung in the space that separated us. I decided to remain where I was. I took the time to observe him intently. Was this just a surface-level worry, or was there a more profound issue lurking beneath the surface? We were keenly conscious of the danger that awaited us. The flames cast intricate shadows over his face, giving him a sense of depth and a rugged, mature allure. In that instant, the cabin appeared to inhabit a space entirely separate from everything I knew, beyond the limitations of the rules and laws that shaped my existence. His touch went beyond simple restoration. It transformed into a journey of discovery and declaration. As he raised his hands, my heart quickened and my breath caught in my throat. Did I genuinely yearn for this? Could this be the feeling I have been longing for all this time? How intensely I yearned for intimacy in my cold marital bed. Within that cabin, we forged our own universe, moving beyond the simple identities of a mother and her child. In the boundless realm of solitude, we discovered two souls entwined, driven by an irresistible desire for intimacy and comfort. With each gentle touch, the lines that separated us began to fade, drawing me nearer, as my body reacted in unexpected ways to his tender caress. Have you ever experienced a deep desire to build relationships with those around you? Are you in search of love? Have you ever encountered a moment where you erred in judgment? The first rays of dawn filtered softly through the cabin window, rousing me from my slumber. As darkness enveloped the landscape, the tempest roared in, leaving behind a gentle blanket of snow that now graced the ground beyond. It should have been a moment filled with beauty, tranquility, and gentle comfort, yet a tight knot twisted in my stomach. At first, I was simply staring at the frosted glass. A multitude of thoughts and feelings danced within me, fleeting and challenging to express. The room was steeped in a coldness, a haunting echo of the warmth that once radiated from the now dormant fire in the chimney. The weight of remorse settled deeply within me. What unfolded during the night, despite my desire to erase it from my thoughts? The memory persisted, haunting me without mercy. Every passing look and whispered word felt like a tidal wave of emotion. Despite this, the information at hand is still lacking for full understanding. A sharp rustle behind me broke my focus. The sofa bed emitted a soft creak. A gentle nudge that the notion of solitude was but a mirage as Jason stood up from his chair. I closed my eyes, pretending to be asleep to escape the need to face him. Still, he chose to say nothing. I felt him nearby as he stood and glided through the home. Still, the echo of his footsteps slipped through my grasp of comprehension. Finally, I stood up and wrapped the blanket around my shoulders. With a casual glance, I noticed him at the counter, effortlessly preparing a pan and cracking eggs with a skillful touch. "Good morning," I said, my voice quivering. He threw a quick look upward. Still, his expression stayed enigmatic. "Good morning," he responded, then turned back to his work. Words left unspoken hung in the air between us, even as he turned his eyes away. His movements carried intention, each one executed with remarkable precision. A palpable sense of uncertainty hung in the atmosphere. It was difficult to discern whether he was intentionally avoiding me or just struggling to find the right words. "Is breakfast being prepared?" I asked, keen to break the silence that surrounded us. He expressed himself with clarity. "I proposed that we enjoy a meal prior to starting the packing process." It was a seemingly mundane statement, so familiar, yet it hinted at an undercurrent of something more profound hidden within his words. It might have been nothing more than a creation of my own mind. As he cracked the eggs and stirred them with a whisk, I took a moment to observe him. His hands moved with a rhythm that seemed to clash with the palpable tension in the air. This morning, he seemed utterly transformed. He displayed a serene presence, radiating an air of composure. "May I offer you some help?" I asked. He turns his eyes. "I comprehend." The ambience was almost serene as we enjoyed our meal. The quiet ambience was punctuated by the gentle clinking of spoons against plates, creating a soft echo in the stillness. I tried to shift my focus away from the food in front of me, but his intense, penetrating gaze remained unmistakably fixed on me. "Jason." I started to articulate an idea, but I struggled to find a way to wrap it up. What should I convey? He chose to stay quiet. Instead, he gave a discreet, almost imperceptible nod before turning away. With the last bites of breakfast finished, we started the task of gathering our things. With determination and careful attention, Jason tackled the challenge of moving the heavy items to the car. I stayed inside, tidying up my environment as I tried to calm my restless mind. What was I supposed to do when Cyril came back? How could I ever uphold an appearance of normalcy when every part of me was in turmoil? The house rested in quietude as Cyril made his entrance in the soft glow of the late afternoon. His exuberant voice broke the silence. He stepped inside, vigorously shaking the snow from his boots with a decisive stomp. "The storm appears to have spared you from being completely stranded," he observed. I managed a faint smile and responded, "Just barely." Last night, a heavy layer of snow covered the scenery. In that brief instant of a kiss on the cheek, he unveiled the profound nature of his kindness and charm. Yet all around me stretched an emptiness, much like a veil that clouded my sight. "What was your experience in discovering the cabin? Are you both able to survive without Wi-Fi?" With a playful grin, he delivered a joke, his eyes darting between Jason and me. Jason simply shrugged, his face betraying no emotion. The ambience was tranquil and peaceful. The atmosphere was charged with unease, yet Cyril seemed completely oblivious to it all. He might have been so immersed in his own excitement that he failed to notice anything else while he started to unpack his possessions. He enthusiastically shared the tales of his recent journey and revealed his thrilling plans for the week ahead. It was difficult to focus on what he was saying as I struggled to ground myself in the reality of our cohabitation. Jason's eyes were fixed on me. A thick tension lingered in the atmosphere as he stood in anticipation. It felt like every look carried a question I couldn't quite answer. "Hey, Jason," Cyril remarked, his hand resting gently on his son's shoulder. "Your support with your mom while I was away means a lot to me." "You are a wonderful child," his father said, but Jason flinched at the touch, his jaw tightening ever so slightly in reaction. "That is acceptable," he remarked. Yet his voice faded into an echo of silence. Cyril seemed completely unaware, while I was sharply conscious of everything around us. The ache in my chest was deep, resisting any effort to articulate it. As Cyril slipped into sleep beside me that night, I remained fully alert. My eyes were drawn to the ceiling overhead, even as the room enveloped me in shadows. My thoughts were bathed in a brilliant light of understanding. What drove me to behave in that way? What have I permitted to take shape? What I aimed to embark on next was even more profound, impactful. They did not arrive, leaving me in a state of uncertainty regarding their potential arrival, as I pondered the past. I often wish I could assert that it was simply an accident, that we had left behind every trace within that house. However, what is the truth? That weekend changed everything, and I have been charting my course through the aftermath ever since. Have you ever discovered yourself trapped by your own longings? Have you ever contemplated the intriguing scenarios that unfold when your eyes rest on someone they shouldn't? Your reply could shed light on a way for me to navigate this challenging situation we are currently facing.